So I told you guys I had 6 days to start and finish this whole entire video, and I did until I blew the first 2 days just modifying the crossbow to be able to accommodate these new big chunky bolts. If you guys remember, I had initially built this thing to be able to shoot store-bought crossbow bolts, and as absolutely nuts as the performance was out of those, I mean, this is a DIY channel, isn't it? Probably high time I figured out my own recipe for some usable crossbow bolts, right? So I did have to relocate and reshape the trigger box. I had to relocate this retention spring on the top. I replaced the super thin bowstring with this absolutely nuts battle cord. This is like 2,500 pound paracord. It's not even the big brother of paracord. It's like the Bigfoot of paracord. But guys, for all the modifications, all the changes that I made, here is the absolute most important one. You're not gonna believe this. Say hello to the very first safety mechanism on any crossbow I have ever made. As many years as I've spent making crossbows, it just kind of never came up until one day it did. I mean, of course it was a day like any other, right? I hooked up the rope cocker. I drew my wonderful, beautiful creation back. You'd never hurt me, of course, I gave you life. Well, at this exact moment, this is when the trigger mechanism failed. And it ripped these handles out of my hands so hard and so fast, my fingers just blew up. And suddenly, all the time I'd ever spent not having a safety on the crossbow and it having no ill effects didn't really matter, because it only takes one time. This hilariously simple little pin, though, completely deadlocks the trigger in the sear. Short of an absolutely catastrophic failure, there's no way this thing's releasing. While messing around with high-powered homemade crossbows is never going to be 100% safe, this incredibly simple little solution gives me the peace of mind to know that this thing does not go off until I say it does. There's absolutely no worse time to think about preventative measures than directly after something bad happens. And as fun, dangerous, and incredibly stupid as shooting a high-powered homemade crossbow with no safety could be, browsing the internet with no safety is not that much smarter. So let me introduce you to a little something called NordVPN. You know, guys, I too long for the days when the only thing you had to worry about on the internet was accidentally clicking a Zwinky ad while you're going nuts on addicting games. But these days, holy smokes, you got every kind of hacker, corporation, government agency doing everything they can to get their grubby little mitts on your personal private information. So why the heck are you gonna mess with a VPN that's not putting in equal effort to adapt and evolve to meet this ever-changing threat? Of course, I'm talking about NordVPN. NordVPN encrypts your IP address to make sure that you can browse the internet in perfect camouflage. And not just that, every Nord subscription comes with Threat Protection Pro and Dark Web Monitor. You switch on Threat Protection Pro, they're gonna scan any downloads or links you're clicking on, let you know immediately if there's any malware, completely block it. They're even gonna block websites that are even known for phishing or scams or anything like that. But equally as important, Dark Web Monitor. You just switch it on, it continually scans known hacker hotspots on the dark web and lets you know immediately if your personal information goes up for sale. Guys, there's never been a better time to try Nord, only worse times, like directly after something bad happens. Just use my link in the description. You're gonna get a special deal up front plus 4 months free and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you so much, NordVPN, for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to it. So I'm not gonna put you through the process of making each individual bolt, because the truth is they're all just like stretchy, warpy versions of each other. So if I show you how to make one of them, you can pretty much extrapolate like, oh, he cut that one longer. Know what I'm saying? The single one that is substantially different from the other ones that's probably worth mentioning is the one that has this modern broadhead on it, because I have mounted in a threaded aluminum insert so that you can replace the head whenever it breaks. But even that, it's the exact same process as I've done with the little sling darts. The old drill press lathe trick I've shown you 2 or 3 times by now, so I'm not gonna put you through that either. If you need a refresher, please do watch the old video. But here's the process of making this just epically solid steel head, oak shaft, leather, fletched crossbow bolt, which, as you can see from the damage on the fletchings, might be a little too powerful for its own good. Now, some might argue a bit of a visual similarity between today's crossbow bolts and last week's throwing darts. I don't really see it, but now that you mention it, I guess the heads are kind of similar. Probably just because they're like built 95% the exact same way as each other. That might be it. We're gonna take some 1/2-inch steel tubing, cut it down into 2-inch sections. A little recurring trick here. We're gonna stick it in the chuck of the drill and spin it against the belt sander so that we can get this really nice uniform chamfer. Then we're gonna take a 12-inch oak rod and we're gonna spin down 1 inch from the end of it until it can fit inside the tube. And then for that little bullet end right there, we're just spinning down some 3/8 steel rod. We're gonna cut it off at 2 inches and then you just epoxy the whole entire thing together. Easy peasy. Where we will deviate from that process though is right here. Instead of chamfering the back end of the tube and tapering the dowel, we're gonna leave the tube flat and we're just not gonna taper the dowel. Having it totally flat all the way like that makes it 1,000 times easier to pull out of the target. So I cut out a whole heap of these things on the laser engraver and obviously they came out totally perfect, but I completely understand how, you know, 90% of people's brains just immediately shut off as soon as they see a laser engraver or like a 3D printer in a build. Just not very relatable. I totally totally get it. I don't want anybody getting scared off, so I'm gonna show you real quick just how easy it is to cut these things out by hand. Make yourself a little form, a little stencil, something that's about 3 inches long, about a 1/2 inch high. You're gonna benefit from a slightly thicker material. I got this neoprene here. You could just as easily use cardboard from a cereal box or something like that. Something that you can bump your scribing tool up against as you make your mark, okay? So you take your veg tan leather, you're gonna want some thinner stuff like this. Get a good straight edge on there. Mark it out. Look at that. Little utility knife. Take your skiving tool, we're gonna do the inside edge, and that's literally it. You're telling me you can't do that 9 times, get 3 bolts? Come on. As nice as these are though, and as cool as it is to say that you made your own fletchings, if you genuinely just are not interested in doing that, big old 50 pack of fletchings, $10 on Amazon. You can grab 2 colors, do 2 of these and 1 of these for 1 bolt, then 2 of these and 1 of these for the next bolt, so you can use them up at the same rate. Stick the butt end of the bolt into some drill chuck. My drill press here, you're gonna crunch it down really tight. I mean, don't like explode the thing, but tight enough that it makes visible dents into the wood. Now I darkened each of the dents with a Sharpie just so they're easier to see, and I'm gonna mark 1 inch, and then from there 1, 2, 3, give it a spin, and use the edge of a speed square to mark the line all the way down. Now I'm gonna use my Dremel tool with one of these little bits. It's a wood carving bit. I don't remember exactly what it's called. We're gonna use this to carve out the lines. Out with a little bit of sandpaper. Wood stain, if you're doing wood stain, I like this Varathane Polycoat all-in-one stuff. This is ebony. Stuff's so nice, you literally just wipe it on. And do wear gloves. I'm just being kind of irresponsible right now. Don't drench the thing. You don't want the grooves you just carved to get filled up with the stain, or you're gonna have to wait for that to dry before you put the fletchings on. A healthy bead of Gorilla Super Glue in every groove. Now you don't want to skimp with that glue, because carving it out like this actually weakens the structure of the grain, but filling it with glue and stuffing it with leather actually kind of repairs and reinforces it, as well as being an incredibly strong way to mount the fletching. And final step, make a little mark that is perpendicular to the odd color fletching, and use that as a guide to either file that out, or my absolute favorite, grab you one of these Polyfan flap discs. These things are so freaking nice. Final dab of super glue to hold the grains together. Now I did have an unexpected amount of trouble finding a target to shoot at. I really didn't want to shoot at my nice hurricane target because the bolts are just so dang thick. I knew that they would put these big nasty holes in it. I know, man, holes in your archery target, oh, it's so bad. I tried just shooting at the stump at first. You gotta try, right? This was before I even tightened up the bow. You could see how floppy the string is, and even with it just kind of like farting the bolt out at, what is that, like 130 feet per second, that thing was just anchored in there. Like while the bolt held up just fine, there was no way I wanted to deal with wrenching those things out every time I shot, so that one was out. Then I got kind of goofy and experimental, just, you know, trying stuff. This is 18 rolls of toilet paper with the tubes taken out, and then cinched this 5,000-pound ratchet strap. I don't really have high hopes for the crossbow, but I really do think that would make a pretty good regular archery target. It's a great size too. Well, it didn't explode on impact. I don't know if it did really anything to stop the bolt. I might have just nailed some toilet paper to a piece of wood. Looks like that's exactly what I did. Oh, that didn't really work. And you know what? For like a youth bow, that would actually be a pretty decent target, but for like a real weapon like this, it was like it wasn't even there, so that one was out too. I kind of like resigned to my fate of having to use the hurricane target. I gave it a shot. Yeah, big nasty wound. I didn't feel awesome about it, but I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna shoot it way too many times, right? Maybe a dozen times at most. But then, thankfully, my crossbow did not have any sights on it. I was just kind of lobbing them down there, and I totally whiffed one of them, and I saw the dartboard that I was using as a backstop caught the bolt at almost the perfect time. A little too far, as you can see there, but once I put the extra 1/4-inch plywood on the outside, ooh, just perfect. It catches it at just the right time. It's so easy to pull out, and the price is actually not out of control either. So for today's video, this was absolutely ideal. Oh, I forgot the final most important part. You make friends with your neighbor so you can shoot in his backyard so the Karen across the street can't see you and call the cops on you. Again, it was pretty funny. Partway through filming, I went to go get something from the house and I could see her running up and down the sidewalk. I could tell she could hear me shooting and she was running around trying to find a problem. I was gonna get a little video of her, but I respect people's privacy, so. This is my setup for today. This is the GRBG Blackout Edition. Really, really nice stand. And my seat is a green bucket from Menards. I had a lot more ideas than just these 5, but time was pretty restricted on this video. Hopefully that doesn't show through way too much. So here is kind of the meat and potatoes of the video. This is just gonna be like the baseline bolt. Got a 1/2-inch oak shaft, and the overall length, I believe, is 14 inches. And if this is the evil Makuta bolt of darkness, this is the Takanuva bolt of light. It's literally light. This is the ultralight version. Instead of oak, I went with poplar, so already that's much lighter. I've replaced the steel collar with aluminum. The head is still steel, of course. And then I also experimented with some fletchings that I actually bought. I never bought fletchings before. I always made them out of duct tape. Now here is one that kind of looks like the Batmobile, huh? This is one that I made to actually be compatible with like medieval style crossbows. The ones that don't have the slot carved down the track for you to be able to put a 3rd fletching in there. You got the 2 big fletchings so this could just sit flat on a crossbow. But then just to experiment, I put this little auxiliary fin on here just to kind of see if it does anything useful. If I had more time, I would have made one without this on here too, so I could compare the two, but sorry. I also got the big Mama Jama bolt. This is 20 inches overall. Really the exact same construction as the baseline bolt, but I wanted to see how much effect the extra length would provide in stabilizing it in the air. And then here's the one that you've been looking at this whole time, that I am the most excited, but also kind of the most afraid to test out. It's basically like a medieval crossbow bolt, but fitted with a modern broadhead. Now, if this is successful, it's exciting because it does mean that you can make some really effective hunting bolts just in your garage with really basic tools. But what's so scary about it is anytime you have blades like this, these basically act like fletchings only on the front of your dart. So if you don't line it up just perfectly, you can have that situation where you fire it and it just goes whoop, and just, you know, flies off in some crazy direction. So those are the 5 bolts. I think it's time. Let's give them a shot. All right, test number 1, the baseline bolt at 10 yards. Holy smokes, that was good. 13 3/4 minus 5 1/4. That's the penetration. I did notice a little bit of squirreliness in the air. I don't know exactly what that would be from, but I think I have a theory. Long story short, I thought it was an issue with the crossbow. It turned out not to be, because what I found was that each individual bolt would kick out in a different direction consistently. As in, this one would always kick out to the right, the other one would always kick out to the left. So that tells me that unfortunately it is an issue with the bolt. My best guess is that freehanding the slots for the fletchings is just not very consistent. So I think I'm gonna experiment with getting one of those like $40 Dremel router tables. That should help a lot. But needless to say, the alignment footage that I filmed, all that slow-mo stuff, it's all pretty much bunk. They're all a little bit wonky. You're not gonna learn all that much from it. To be clear, these bolts are completely functional. They might kick out 10 degrees in some direction, but none of them are like flopping out sideways and slapping the target, you know? Still a great bolt, just some little tweaks to make, okay? But for the video right now, we're gonna focus mostly on the speed and the energy. Holy smokes. That was good. All right, now for the big boy. Wow, that was powerful. That extra weight is no joke. Holy smokes. Am I crazy, or did that like... So that penetrated 5 more inches. You know what? I'm gonna give that another try, because I know there were kind of some holes in the Pink Panther foam. I wonder if I just caught one of the, yeah, that's really loose. I might have just caught one of the old holes. I don't know, if it was like 2 inches, I'd be like, okay. But 5 whole extra inches, it's kind of suspicious. Let's run that back. Okay. That's more like it. 9 3/8. 20 minus 9 3/8. So even after the retest, that's still pretty devastating. That's over 10 inches. Ooh, the ultralight. This will be interesting. It's kind of scary. This is so light. I almost have like no idea what this is gonna do. Wow, that was fast. Wow, wow, wow. It just barely dipped in with the fletchings. I mean, great news for the penetration, I guess, but I have to re-glue these. That was the first one moving fast enough to get the residue from the Pink Panther foam. It was going fast enough that it melted the foam. 14 minus 3 7/8. I did not expect that. I know everybody always says speed beats armor. I just did not see that coming though. That was really pretty awesome. All right, the little Batman dart. Now real quick, where I said that I made this thing to be able to seat in medieval style crossbows with the little auxiliary fletching pointing up. I actually can't do that with this one because of this retention spring, but I can put it in just like all the other ones, upside down. Ah. I'm glad I saw that now. What a doof. So goofy. Well, I guess we're not doing that right now. That's a bummer. Oh, well, I can shoot it out of my other one. Duh. Man, you're gonna get to see the dramatic difference in speed between the compound bow and the spear gun rubber powered one. Yeah, that is nowhere near as heavy as the other one. That was incredibly accurate. That flew like an arrow. Didn't even sink the collar in all the way. Such a dramatic difference in power between that one and the compound bow, but that flight was really nice. All right, I'm not gonna shoot this nice broadhead at a piece of wood over some insulation, okay? I'm not a caveman. I'm gonna shoot it at some leather bungee corded around a 30-year-old piece of bedding foam. I think I hit the bungee cord. Yeah, right through that bungee cord. Wow. So the broadhead went straight into the wood. You can see those nice slices right there. Straight through 2 layers of the leather, and this is really thick stuff. This is about the thickest I could get at Tandy. I do wish I could have got a better shot than that, but pretty successful. We at least see what's going on. Oh, that's so in there. I wonder if I can... Yeah, the broadhead's pretty mangled. The blades are bent. I don't know if you can see that on camera, but this actually survived. It's one of the nice things about the aluminum inserts is you can just replace the heads. All right, in summary, got a little bit of work to do as far as aligning the fletchings, but here's something really cool that I only realized after all the testing. I realized that the ultralight bolt and the broadhead bolt are actually the exact same weight down to the gram. And yet the broadhead bolt with its leather fletchings actually outperformed the ultralight bolt by about 5 feet per second. Now, I'm not saying that that's because of the leather fletchings. There's a whole host of reasons you could get that little 5 foot per second difference, but what I am saying is that I'm really encouraged to see that you're getting no performance loss from using these leather fletchings. They seem to be every bit as good as the store-bought ones. So I'm super excited to see how far we could take these. Like I said, I've got tons and tons more ideas that I just couldn't get to in this video. Ideas for lightening them up in particular. I really would like to get them kind of on the level of like the really serious hunting ones. I think this one's about double the weight of this one, and the 20-inch one that I made is like triple the weight of this. I don't know if I'll do a whole entire video about it. Maybe I'll do a short or something. I know shorts are like 3 minutes these days. I don't know what happened there. Yeah, I'll probably do a short. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope it didn't seem too rushed. I tried to make it as quality as I could with the amount of time that I had. But that is all I got for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.